Satyajeet NawlI saw Blue Is The Warmest Colour, and I loved it. I consider it one of the best movies of all time, and I was shocked that it didn't receive any Oscar nominations. I think this is because of the explicit content of the movie. I just don't know why the Oscars don't give nominations to the movies with explicit content like Killer Joe, Shame, Blue Is The Warmest Colour, etc. It won the Palme d'Or in the Cannes Film Festival 2013 for both actresses Adèle Exarchopoulos and Seydoux, who were also awarded with the Palme d'Or for their performance, and the jury for that year was Steven Spielberg, Christoph, Waltz, Nicole, Kidman, and Jolie, etc.
I actually think one of those two was the director and not the actress. I could be wrong about that. Here's the thing. Blue Is The Warmest Colour is a really good movie. It's a really good movie. Would I personally put it amongst the rank of the best films of all time? No, I wouldn't. But it's really, really good. And you say, well, it won the Cannes. Yeah, but at Cannes, it's only going up against so many films. I mean, it's like,
still pretty impressive.
It's still impressive. Don't get me wrong. I made a film that won an award at Cannes. I'm tattooing that across my chest. But I mean, but keep this in mind too. It's not just that it didn't win any Oscars. Nobody else gave it any awards. The Broadcast Film Critics Society didn't award it. I think they might have given one of the actresses Best Young Actress award, which is a throwaway one. I think maybe got nominated for one award in the Golden Globes. But when you run down the list of all the different critic categories and stuff like that, nobody was giving awards to the film. But I think this highlights something. I think what our tendency to do is, when we don't get something, and I include myself in this, when we don't get something that we want or think is right, we start looking for an excuse or a reason why that happened. And I find that happens a lot with film fans. What? Dark Knight didn't get an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture? That's because, and then here comes, we make up reasons. The Academy doesn't like genre films. Yeah. Lord of the Rings won 11 Oscars. What are you talking about? This guy didn't get Academy Award nomination? That's because the Academy is filled with nothing but old white men. There's 7,000 voting members of the Academy. Do you know any of them? I'm willing to bet you don't. This one didn't get nominated because of the sexual content. Nobody nominated it. Nobody gave it any awards. I just think we're very, and I do this too, I'm as guilty of this as anybody. I think what our natural reaction is to jump up and try to point at a scapegoat reason, say, this didn't happen because of this, instead of just saying, okay, well, I appreciate it to this level, and other people didn't, and it didn't get an award. Okay. Doesn't change how much I loved it or whatever. It is a very good film, though. It's very explicit. It is probably, to me, one of the more explicit like theatrical films I've ever seen. But I don't think that hurt it at all. That's me personally. Anyway, did you see Blue Is The Warmest Colour?
I did not see it, but I did have to watch some of an Infomaniac with Schmoes last week. And I will say, I think that there's something to be said, you know, when you're putting up a film and you want it to get nominated for an Oscar per se, there are certain things that you know are gonna kind of lean it in the opposite direction of getting a nomination. And I think overly explicit scenes, I will say I think sometimes genre films where it's sci-fi or fantasy, it's a little bit harder to get them in the running, you know, where it's the ones that like I said before, are just emotionally driven or make you cry. You know, those are the ones that people are looking at initially. So for this one, for me, I think that it's, you know, I've heard that the story is incredible and I do really want to see it. So that'll be on my list for this weekend because it's on Netflix now, right? Yeah. But I think there is that fine line of, you know what's happening, how much of it do you really need to see in a film? And having that boundary where everyone feels more okay going to watch it, because that scene or those scenes are going to alienate a lot of people from going to see it in the first place, which I think hurts its Oscar nomination opportunities.
It will also get people that weren't going to see it attracted to it. This film was on my top 10 films of last year. I think it's a masterpiece. And that film, that section was not, sure, it was girl and girl, very explicit, but it was not, it was so important to the story. It wasn't just like, let's throw in some, you know, and get some people excited about this. It was so important to the journey of Adèle, who she is, again, on my young stars to watch list. She is phenomenal, both of them. It was just such a masterpiece. It was one of the most emotionally charged films of this relationship blossoming and this woman growing old before your eyes. And much like Linklater did, they don't treat you like an idiot. It's like 15 years later, you know, you see the progression of her and this relationship evolving and how it impacts her entire life. So that scene is very important to understanding their relationship and the passion and all the complications around it. But again, I don't like when they just throw Nymphomaniac. I was just like, okay, you know, like it's called Nymphomaniac. We know what we're in for. But like at the same time, I just felt like it was more for shock value, while this was beautifully artistically done. So it's different. But I agree, it turns off some audience who you can't take your kids to see this one, you know.
But as is the case with any R-rated film, really.
This is NC-17.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which brings up my point. Like, I haven't seen this yet. I've heard so much about it. It did get a little bit of some backlash because the 2 stars complained about the director and how they felt they were taken advantage of before the movie ever got here to America. So I remember hearing about all that, and that kind of at least tainted my view of seeing it. I want to see it. I'll see it probably in the next month. It's like you said, it's on VOD or whatever. But NC-17 is like, I'm not going to be like, it's because of NC-17. I'm not in that mindset, but I will say that an NC-17 movie is a kiss of death. We all know that when it goes to the theatrical and it's NC-17, because it brings with it the taboo. And we in America, sometimes America's a little puritanical to a certain degree, and it affects all of us because it's like NC-17 means there's going to be either extreme gore, some kind of horrible violence, or something that will affect you, or it could be like just extreme sex. And am I going to see a porno? Like, am I going to see this alone? It could it affects you in such a different way than an R-rated film. Like just psychologically.
Inviting someone with you, like you
and
said.
imagine that, like, hey, let's go see that movie. I didn't expect that to be, whoa, you know, it's like.
I saw that one alone on purpose, just gonna say.
A lot of people see NC-17 movies by themselves for that specific reason.
But then you still feel like embarrassed that you're like, I have to go see this movie by myself.
Here's my raincoat. You know, I was like, oh my God.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.